I may be inclined, and I am not, and I am a risk-averse person, then I may be inclined to hold a AA corporate rated bond, right, which matures perhaps in 10 years, right, instead of perhaps taking up stock. Obviously, that depends on my level of risk aversion, but obviously, somehow locally we don't have an active liquid bond market, so that may become an issue. Some of these requirements may prove to be a bit too hard on the local industry. So then obviously I said that there is going to be an increased focus on retail deposits. Banks may go for specialized products, may go in increased marketing efforts, and then there is an increased incentive, as I had stated earlier, on stable funding, long-term funding, more funding locked in. And the pricing of funding, stable funding, will be worth more. Hence, obviously, there is an increasing likelihood that the interest costs for banks with respect to those would rise. Obviously, but then they would be offset by the relaxation the liquidity ratios will be providing. So, obviously, organizations are then advised to look for areas, sources of funding which are stable. Perhaps, product features which penalize the depositor a bit more, implemented on an industry-wide level, perhaps, that you can't just withdraw on an ad hoc basis, and perhaps detailed studies as to which portion is stable and which portion is unstable, right? Now, key questions with regards to the return on equity, especially in the local market, is what will the equity investor demand? Obviously, we would all agree that the lower the risk, the more stable the organization, then the equity holder should ideally, at least theoretically, accept a lower return on equity. However, how that would basically come out in practice, we're not sure yet, right? However, the BIS is of the view that, keeping in view the current leverage and the risk-taking activity of major organizations in the West, the level of and the return on equity that they had previously generated was not sustainable, because it had adverse effects on the economy, in a sense that it brought about quite a huge recession, right? So equity investors will then need to be engaged so as to basically educate them and induce them to provide further capital, obviously, that may be necessary to fulfill the requirements of any capital shortfalls, right? And so, and then another aspect is that will higher capital lead to lower demands? Yes, obviously, lower the risk, then perhaps it can possibly lead to lower demands from the equity investors, as both the BIS and the critics of Basel III agree that it is most likely going to result in a shortfall on the return on capital employed measure for equity holders. Another aspect that some people, some colleagues of ours from the finance department may find interesting is that should we consider more transparency in our annual reports, make disclosures, consider making long-term disclosures. So say if Basel III requirements are going to be introduced slowly by the regulator, obviously I think there is still 2018 before a lot of this comes into force on a full-fledged basis, as well as 2023 by the time some of the capital instruments are supposed to be phased out on a straight line basis over 10%. Perhaps certain disclosures in annual report may obviously assist in educating the equity holders as well as the depositors as to what changes are going to be brought about by regulations that may be introduced in the future. And then obviously there is a very sensitive issue on how one should best frame the investor communication. Obviously on one side, say if a bank has a lot of free float of shares in the market, then ordinary shareholders will need to be engaged and educated that look, the entity's profile is going to change materially, right? It's much more liquid, it's much more stable and the lower the risk, then there is going to be perhaps lower return. But what one needs to understand is that if there is lower return in a buoyant market, there is also lesser losses in a recessionary scenario, right? There are going to be lesser losses, right? So, and perhaps a reference can be made even to the study made by the Bank of International Settlements, which I was discussing earlier on the earlier slide, that they perceive a net benefit to arise, not only to the economy, but since some of the larger organizations are so much correlated with the macroeconomic factors, to the banks as well in the long run, right? So investor communication is going to be a key, needs to be carefully drafted. Perhaps some colleagues in the finance department may like to highlight some of the positive elements of Basel III as well, apart from some of the apprehensions that is likely to come in the local press. Okay, I think I've basically gone slightly faster than anticipated. I think I'm going to be finishing 15 minutes earlier. So in a summary, what would be the key message I would like to give to my banker friends is that, one, you need to focus on your strategy. You need to have a business focus. One, I tend to feel is that banks within our local scenario are adequately capitalized. Now that's a big statement to make, right? And the reason I feel that way is because most of our exposures are 100% risk weighted on account of lack of ratings available for the corporate exposure. One aspect is that, right? Second aspect is, which is slightly more complicated, is that we don't take into account the benefit of our collateral in computing the loss given default measure, right? There is a practice within the local industry to lend, to basically have quite a lot of margin against the exposures that they undertake, right? So our exposures are heavily collateralized, right? So if we were to compute the loss given default measures, obviously one has to collaborate, one has to basically perhaps even consider collaborating at the PBO level, right? So as to have a better resolution mechanism in place once a party, borrower, goes into default, right? Then one has to have better resolution procedures in place so as to enable a bank to effectively liquidate the collateral or to arrive at a restructuring basically arrangement quickly. So perhaps bankers themselves need to collaborate, right, perhaps at the PBA level. Like I said earlier, right, most of the credit policies and other policies and frameworks which I have seen in organizations, right, over my 14 years, they tend to focus primarily on how the bank will operate within the organization. Like I said, that data, long-term data of 20-25 years goes to show that every significant organization, every significant organization's result is directly impacted by factors such as GDP, inflation. So the more stable the economy that you assist to create, right, instead of focusing on a particular sector, financing to a particular sector, financing to perhaps too much to a cyclical sector, right, the more stable economy that you help to create, the more stable will be your results, right? So say for instance, another example of that could be on an industry-wide collaboration level. Say that, let's take an example of margin financing, right? 75 billion rupees of margin financing was outstanding, right, when the market crashed. So primarily as an industry, we tend to lend on the basis of liquid collateral, right, which is equity, without considering the broker's independent ability to pay in case the market crashes, right? Because since we work on all segments, right, the broker themselves, obviously it is not a practice to profile customers, their individual customers, based on risk rating as to what is his ability to make good any risk losses, right? So there is a material positive correlation between the market crash and the broker's ability to pay back the banks, right? Obviously, in a sense, we ourselves